Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Greetings. What the deal is? Welcome to the build. Welcome to the build. Welcome to the build. I'm about to go ahead and share my screen just so y'all know. I'm actually doing I'm doing TikTok and I'm doing YouTube at the same time, right? So let me just go ahead and make sure this screen. All right, good. The screen is all right. Good. Screen is actually showing. Bring the volume all the way down. Let me turn up the notification sound. Boom. Got that over here. All right. So we're about to get into some information right now. Let me just make sure I'm tuned in on TikTok. Give me a second. Turn up the notification and go live. Go live. Go live. How is YouTube doing? How we doing? How we doing? How we doing? All right. Peace and love. Peace and love. What the deal? Oh, CEO. What the deal? Why go on? Big up yourself. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. All right. Um, we doing this, man. We doing this for real, for real, for real. All right, cool. So, like I said, I'm on TikTok and YouTube at the same time. I'm streaming on both platforms. All right. Somebody said, Chief, you say is US law. What about in federal law of the land? I'm gonna be talking about that right now. So just tune in. All right. Just tune in. Just tune in. I definitely once again, let me introduce myself. Chief Flying Eagle, aka Lord American, aka the Black Identity Slave. We're about to get into it. Now, let me tell y'all something. I did a live earlier, man. It was fire, fire, fire. People, they started to come with the personal attacks, even talking about my mama. People I don't even know. I haven't done anything. I didn't call any names just because I'm speaking the truth. But like I said, right, only the truth will set us free. You did? And I'm going to continue to speak the truth. And I'm going to bring some more truth in this lesson here. But not a lot of people are not going to like it, but it is what it is. What can I do? Right? I promise you, a lot of them are not going to like this one as well. And for everybody on TikTok, do me a favor. If you want to see the live, then you're going to have to go to no, well, the recording. You're going to have to go on Facebook, not Facebook, on YouTube, all right, to catch the recording. And my YouTube is Original American Son, Original American Son as an SUN. When I'm done, I will definitely put it in the chat, all right? But the reason why I'm doing these classes that way and these lessons is to the illusions, all the illusions and the false information that's being put out there is just too much false information. And I think people are doing that because they're just content creators. Content creators, they don't really care about the validity of the information. They don't care about the truth of the information. They're just posting things, regurgitated information that was not fact checked, that people did not do their due diligence to bring to you. You did. And my goal, once again, is to share information to so that you don't put yourself in situations because you're listening to those people. All right. So, and even with me, when I give you the information, what I tell you, do your own due diligence, right? I tell you, don't believe anything that I say, do your own research. It is really that simple. It's about bringing credible information. So, with that being said, we're going to get into indigenous recognition and legal protection in US law. The class lesson is recognized tribes, unrecognized tribes, indigenous individuals, and the purpose of this. So, we're going to get into the purpose of this lesson. All right? Because, like I said, it's just too much misinformation. And the problem, I'm going to keep repeating myself. Too many people are just creating videos and not doing their own research. And because it sounds good, other people share these videos and then they have 10, 15, 20, 30,000 likes of misinformation. And people, particularly our people, they just lost. And people are confused. It's just too much going on. So, like I said, a lot of people are not going to like this, but it bothers me no way or the other because we have to get to a point where we have to hone in on the information and choose the right path to make this happen. I stand for decolonization, but we have to make sure we teach the information in its proper context. All right. So, with that being said, I already know what TikTok is doing. I'm seeing people actually stepping into the live on TikTok and they telling me I only have 2 people on here. But TikTok, I already know how you do, so I'm not even worried about y'all. All right. You guys already telling people that they have to agree to new terms. So basically, y'all watching people. So I pretty much see what TikTok is doing and all these other platforms, right? They want to watch people that's saying certain things and doing certain things. But let me tell y'all something, man. TikTok, and for all the rest of y'all that's listening, the agencies that's listening, I'm not afraid of anything, man, because I'm only teaching what's in law. You feel me? So I'm not teaching anything. I'm not, for once again, I am not an enemy of the state. You dig? I'm just here to teach knowledge that I could find in law and researchable information. So let's put it that way. And I reserve all my rights. Okay? I reserve all my unalienable rights. I do not waive any of my rights. And I do that without recourse on both YouTube and I do that on TikTok as well. All right? So let's go. The purpose of this lesson. This lesson is designed to clarify common misconceptions about Indigenous status, federal recognition, and legal protection in the United States. Many people believe, and as you could see, I put, the way I spelled believe, it's BE hyphen LIE as in lie hyphen VE. Once again, I'm playing semantics with the word, right? Because many people believe, and in the word believe is the word lie, that if a tribe or an indigenous community is not federally recognized, it has no protection or standing in law. That belief is incorrect, but it contains a partial truth that must be carefully explained. And that's what I'm going to get into right now. All right? That's what we're going to break down and we're going to dive in detail. So when I'm done with this lesson, you will have a clear understanding of what is being taught. Okay? And of course, you could verify that information. This lesson distinguishes sovereignty-based protections from identity and rights-based protections and explains where unrecognized indigenous people have the strongest legal footing. All right, part one. Here we go. I'm on YouTube and TikTok, so give me a second. Let me just navigate both platforms, okay? Part one, what federal recognition actually means. This is very important. What federally recognized tribes, what does it mean? Let's get into this. If federally recognized, being federally recognized is about political status. It's not about identity. And I will keep repeating that. Being federally recognized is not about identity. It's about a political status. You feel me? Federal recognition in the United States government acknowledges that a tribe exists as a sovereign political entity with whom the United States maintains a government-to-government relationship. I repeat, a federal recognized tribe or recognition in the U.S. government is the acknowledgement that a tribe exists as a sovereign political entity with whom the U.S. government maintains a government-to-government relationship. Federal recognition does not determine whether a people are indigenous, American Indian. It does not determine ancestry or cultural continuity. It does not, does not erase indigenous identity if absent. I'm going to repeat that. So when we hear Native Americans and other individuals, they are talking about, well, we are federally recognized and we have our card. It does not mean that you are actually indigenous. It doesn't mean that you're American Indian. All it means is just a political status. It does not determine identity. And I've done classes on that before. And I've shown court cases that show you and prove to you that being federally recognized is only a political status and it has nothing to do with identity. And there's Supreme Court cases that validate that. All right? We got to make sure we understand that. Do your own due diligence on that. Don't believe anything that I say, but I'm giving you facts. All right? Federal recognition does not determine whether people are indigenous, American Indian, does not determine ancestry or cultural continuity, does not erase indigenous identity if absent. What does that mean? Because you are not federally recognized, that doesn't mean you are not American Indian. It doesn't mean that you are not an original indigenous man or woman. So you have to know the distinction between being federally recognized and being who you are as an individual, an American Indian, or an original indigenous individual. The reason why I always stress when I use the word indigenous, I always put original in front of indigenous. There's a reason for that. Because when you look at the etymology of the word indigenous, it has two meanings: to be born and originating. Native Americans are born, but they're not originating. Do you see the difference? So when the United Nations gave the people UNDRIP, United Nations Declarations on the Rights of Indigenous People, they were not specific as to whom that applied to. That was left to the individual via self-determination. So therefore, you have to go into the etymology of the word to know the distinction being born, which is mean natives, and original, which means American Indian. Two different political identities. Okay? And that I have shown in law and in court cases as well. Okay? Now check this out. Instead, recognition determines whether a group can exercise sovereign powers under U.S. federal Indian law. That's all it means. I'm going to repeat that. Instead, recognition determines whether a group can exercise sovereign powers under the U.S. federal law. That's all it means. So I hope a lot of you natives are listening right now, because being federally recognized does not make you American Indian. It does not mean you are an original indigenous individual. It does not determine race. It is only a political status because a relationship was established with the US government. And I could verify that with the conversation I also had with the Cherokee Nation in 2019. Okay? All right, cool. Let's go to B. What federally recognized tribes are protected by? Federally recognized tribes can invoke treaty enforcement articles, all right, VI US Constitution, tribal sovereignty and self-governance, trust land protection, federal consultation mandates, tribal jurisdiction, civil and, in limited cases, criminal sovereign immunity. These protections attach to the tribal government, not merely to individuals. I hope all of this is making sense. I'm going to read that again. What federally recognized tribes are protected by? Let's break this down. Federally recognized tribes can invoke treaty enforcement via Article 6, U.S. Constitution, tribal sovereignty and self-governance, trust land protections, federal consultation mandates, tribal jurisdiction, civil and, in limited cases, criminal sovereignty. These protections attach to the tribal government, not merely the individuals. So therefore, individual members of tribal people, tribal governments that's federally recognized, the protection is merely for the government. It's limited to the individuals. All right? Just giving clarification. Part 2. The misconception, unrecognized means unprotected. That's not what it means. And therefore, I hear a lot of people pushing to get federal recognition. Why? My question is why? Why would you want to do that? I'm just saying. I mean, I got my reasons for saying that, but I'll leave it as that. You feel me? Yes, you may get some privileges. You may get some perks, but at what cost? Hmm? If the whole purpose is decolonization, why would we want to go back into contracts? I'm just going to leave it as that. So this is where the confusion is most common. Because we are not federally recognized as American Indians, original indigenous people, we think we don't have any type of protection at all. Well, let's see. Here we go. Key clarification. Lack of federal recognition does not mean lack of legal protection. What it does mean is no access to sovereignty-based federal Indian law protections. That's all it means. No automatic government-to-government relationship with the US. So there are advantages to being federally recognized. There is. You get certain protections, you get certain benefits, you have that government-to-government relationship in whatever capacity that it is, which they allow you. But the bottom line is you are giving up your sovereignty. Okay? You are putting yourself in another contract. You're compromising who you are as a man or a woman on the land. All right? So what it does mean is no access to sovereign-based federal Indian law protections, no automatic government-to-government relationship with the US government. And we are talking about when you are not federally recognized, right? But indigenous people and communities outside of federal recognition are not legally invisible. So we don't have to be pressing to get federal recognition. I can't tell you what to do, but to me, that would not be the goal. Where unrecognized indigenous people have their strongest legal protection. Number one, constitutional and civil rights protection. That's the strongest baseline. Unrecognized indigenous individuals and communities are fully protected by due process of the Fifth and the 14th Amendment. Equal protection, freedom of religion, culture, and association, anti-discrimination laws. Now, there's a catch-22, which I'm going to get into, all right? These protections apply regardless of tribal recognition. For unrecognized indigenous people, U.S. law must effectively protect them through civil rights and constitutional frameworks, not because they are not indigenous, but because they are the legal system only recognized indigenous nationhood through federal recognition. Until that threshold is met, protection flows through civil legal status rather than sovereign political status. Let me explain to you what that means. The system was designed so perfectly that if you're federally recognized, meaning that the only way to get any type of recognition, any type of federal benefits, you have to be federally recognized. It doesn't mean if you're American Indian and you're not federally recognized, that does not take away from who you are. But they're saying the only way to get protection is through the civil rights, the 14th Amendment, and the Constitution. You feel me? So either way, they're tying you in, because if you're federally recognized, you are still under their subjective jurisdiction. And if you're not federally recognized, you have protection, but it's only through their legal system that they set up. Do you see how this is all tied in together? So it's like there's no way out. And that's why I keep telling people, these people set up a genius system. A genius system. I'm not saying it's moral, but it was genius. Because you came into the Americas, right? Take the identity, sovereignty, and land of the original indigenous people. You misclassify us, right? Via paper genocide. Then you give us a story that we all came from Africa, when that is a lie. It never happened. That slave trade never happened. You did. Now, y'all believe what y'all want to, but I know it never happened. The people were already in the Americas. So you gave us that story. And then you actually took Native Americans from Alaska via, pardon me, from Russia via Alaska in the late 1700s, and you adapted them and you put them in place, and then you made it because it has nothing to do with being American Indian. It's literally, it's just, once again, it's a political organization. So you created these relationships with these people. All the original treaties that were made for American Indians, they were ratified. All right. So then the original people were forced to assimilate. And therefore, these Native Americans are in place. They cannot say too much. They cannot do too much because they know the position they're in. So they just have to accept what it is. You might have one or two brave ones, but for the most part, they just got to chill because they know they were adopted by the United States. You feel me? So here comes the original people. They don't have no federal recognition. And if they try to get it back, the only way they could get it back is to agree that they are slaves from Africa. So therefore, they are the black natives agreeing that the Native Americans were their slave masters. Do you see how that works? So every individual who is identifying as a black native, the only way to get recognition is to agree that you are a slave from Africa that was enslaved by the Native Americans. And people are actually accepting that contract, that covenant, just because they want privileges. Let that make sense. But you know what? They do what they got to do. Here is the situation with those who are not federally recognized, but they are American Indians. They are all over the hood. We are the ones out here talking right now. We are the ones teaching who we truly are. We are the ones talking about do your genealogy. We are the ones that are talking about coming together as a collective. Well, at least I do. You feel me? So we are not federally recognized, so we don't get to be considered having a government-to-government relationship that's recognized by the federal government. You dig? We don't get the privileges that the federal government determine who an Indian is. So the only protection that we have, as far as the government is concerned, that only protection comes from the 14th Amendment, the constitutions, and their laws that they put in place. So do you see the conundrum that we're in right now? Do you see the dilemma that we're in? Damned if you do, and damned if you don't. See, I like to bring these things up so people could truly understand what's going on. You did? That's why I keep telling people it's imperative that we come together as a collective and stand up and make sure that our voices be heard. We are not doing anything illegal. We are not doing anything unlawful. Due to international law, the United Nations, we have a right to stand up against, we have a right to stand for decolonization. We have every right to do that. So I don't care if TikTok changed their, their policy, and they're listening to people and they're tracking people. I don't care. Do what y'all got to do. Because this is all about control. That's all it is. It doesn't matter which platform you're on. The moment you created an account, guess what? You signed up to some type of agreement. The only difference is, we should always reserve our rights without recourse. That's how you reserve your rights. And I should have been doing that a little more often, but one of my sisters, reminded me the other day that, Chief, every time you do a video, it's important that you reserve your rights. You feel me? So moving forward, I'll be doing that. But the point I'm making is, I hope you get the clear distinction so far as what a federally recognized tribe is, being recognized by the federal government, and someone who's unrecognized. But at the same time, okay, your protection does not come from being federally recognized, but it comes through civil rights. It comes to the 14th Amendment. It comes to the Constitution. So either way, you are still caught up in a system because we are indigenous, original indigenous people, and we are not being federally recognized. You feel me? Have to once again be forced to assimilate to be identified as civilians. That's what the system is saying. To be protected in the system. Do y'all see how that works? And that's why I keep telling y'all it was perfect system. And the only way we are going to get through this, it has to be through the collective. And I'll keep singing that all day. Y'all can stay divided if you want, but at some point, people are just going to get tired and just give up because people refuse to come together. So let's read this. Federal statutes that protect native identity, not sovereignty. Some federal laws apply based on indigenous identity or status, not tribal sovereignty, such as the Indian Act and Crafts Act under specific definitions. Certain criminal victim protections, education and cultural protection statutes, anti-fraud and civil rights statutes. That's where the American Indian civil rights came in. You feel me? Because the federal recognition is not necessarily for individuals, it's for the tribal governments. So therefore, the individuals have limited protection. So they had to put other certain criterias, okay, mechanisms in place to protect the individual. All right. So this is one of them. Federal statutes that protect native identity, not sovereignty. You see how they play the game? So either way, no matter how you look at it, there is always something that's in place to make sure you don't get the full sovereignty as a man or woman like God intended it to be. And this is real. So therefore, some federal laws apply based on indigenous identity or status, not tribal sovereignty, such as the Indian Acts and Crafts Act under specific definitions, certain criminal victim protections, education and cultural protection statutes, anti-fraud and civil rights statutes. These laws protect people, not the government. So you see the difference? One is in place for the governments, and one is in place for the people, the individual people. That's why this is just the relationship with the federal government. That's why it's a political relationship, and it has nothing to do with the race, the identity, being American Indian, or being an original indigenous man or woman. It is strictly political. Okay? And these Native Americans, they think that nobody will be able to figure that out. But trust me, I know the difference. I know how to break this down. So let us go to 3. State recognition and state law, often overlooked. Many states recognize tribes that are not federally recognized, provide cultural, educational, and consultative protections, enact state level indigenous laws and rights, right? State recognition is real law, though it does not equal sovereign federal sovereignty. All right. Now, somebody may say, well, Chief, well, is it okay to get state recognition? It's really up to you. It depends on the terms of the contract, the terms of the covenant. What are you giving up for that recognition? That is the question. Okay. That is the question. All right. Number 4, property, contract, and private law. Unrecognized tribes and indigenous organizations can lawfully hold land in fee simple form, corporations, nonprofits, and trust. Okay? Enter into enforceable contracts, assert property and commercial rights. These protections exist outside federal Indian law, but are still enforceable in court. So once again, you don't have to be federally recognized to navigate and do certain things. You don't have to. There are different ways of protecting your assets and doing what needs to be done. Okay? Corporation, nonprofit, trust, all these different forms or different entities that you don't have to be federally recognized to put in place and still get the same effect that you desire if you were federally recognized. You feel me? Because you are still able to get some of those benefits by putting certain things in place. It's all about the education and the knowledge. So here we go. International indigenous law. political and moral force. Unrecognized indigenous people are recognized under United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, UNDRIP, Inter-American Human Rights Framework. While not self-executing in the U.S. courts, these frameworks support advocacy, influence policy, and strengthen historical and moral claims. What does that mean? UNDRIP is not legally binding, so to speak, within the U.S. context of their jurisdiction or law. However, they are a party to the United Nations, so therefore UNDRIP does hold some form of, footing. It holds a little bit of power. You did. So we cannot dispel that completely. You did. And that's what it is. The system is designed in such a way, whether you go left or you go right, the system was created by the same entity. And I keep going back to the Bible. Let people know there's nothing new under the sun. You did. The moment you left Genesis chapter 1, it had nothing to do with us, with what's called a God as to a universal creator. Once you left Genesis chapter 1, that was done. In terms of the new Lord God that took over in Genesis chapter 2, that was not a God as in a creator of the universe. That was a governmental system that was created from Great Britain, the Lords of Britain. That's who they were. So when they gave you the option of the tree of life, and they told you, you either had left or right, up or down, good or evil, life or death, is the same thing as the Republican and the Democrats. The left wing, the right wing, the same bird. So it was the same Lord God giving the options. So it doesn't matter if you go left, it doesn't matter if you go right. You still have to deal with the entity. And that's what's happening. And a lot of people don't see the illusion. You think if you vote left, it's going to make a difference. Then you think if you vote right, it's going to make a difference. But it's the same individuals giving you the option of left and right. When the truth of the matter is, there's only one head. They all eat at the same table. They pretend they're enemies and they got you fighting each other. Let it make sense. So even if UNDRIP and the US is UNDRIP, they still tell you that it's not legally binding. So either way, no matter how we turn, we are still limited to an extent. That's how crazy this is. Like, they're making sure that you don't have a way out. And that's why I keep telling people, man, this is about the collective. This is truly about the collective. Individuality is not going to get it done. It's not. Whether you want to leave the illusion, continue to think that one tribe, because like I said before, everybody want to create a tribe, but one tribe is going to get it done. No, it's not. It's not, man. This is bigger than individualism. I'm just being honest. You feel me? So me bringing the truth is not to discourage you. It's just to let you know what we're dealing with and what we got to do as a people. All right? Let's go into part 4. Paper genocide and legal reality. Paper genocide refers to census reclassification, administrative erasure, forced racial relabeling, disruption of political continuity. So paper genocide is real. This phenomenon is documented and acknowledged, but the U.S. courts require present-day recognition to act. Do not treat historical injustices as a substitute for recognition. You see what I'm talking about? Let's read that again because I want it to make sense. I want this to really sink in. I'm going to take my time and read this again, very, very slow. Paper genocide and legal reality. Paper genocide refers to census classification. Did that happen? Yes. Can we prove it? Yes. Because our ancestors went from Indian I to change to a B to be black and colored. They actually did that. And we could prove that. We could verify that. So it was real. Administrative erasure. Can we prove that? Yes. Give an example, Walter Plecker. So it happened. Can we give another example? Yes, we can. General Henry Pratt, he said, kill the Indian, save the man. And that was being done all over the US. That was a national conference in the early 1800s. Forced racial relabeling. Can we prove that? Yes, we can. We went from American Indians to Negro, de Terra, then blacks of the land, then colored, African American, Afro. I'm talking about we have went through the reclassification in terms of racial relabeling. Disruption of political continuity, absolutely. Because as we speak right now, the majority of us that are not recognized, we are American Indians, the hood Indians. We are American Indians, right? So that's where the disruption of political continuity continued. Okay? Changing indigenous Wall Street to Black Wall Street. All that was a form of paper genocide. So it was real, it's well documented. So therefore, this phenomenon is documented and acknowledged by the US government. But here's the difference. Okay, here's the difference. The US courts, this is what they require. The US courts require present day recognition to access sovereignty based rights. Okay? Do not treat historical injustices alone as a substitute for recognition. So it doesn't matter what we could show. We could go back and show that our ancestors were Indians and their identity was erased. They don't care about that. If you are not federally recognized, they don't give a damn. That's what they tell you in law. You see what I'm talking about? So the only way for this to happen is through the collective, my people. It is through the collective. And I'm not going to apologize for bringing the truth to you. I know most people, they want to hear things they like to hear. They want to hear things that make them feel good. You did. But that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to make you uncomfortable. I'm here to arouse something in you that for some man, listen now, you know what? I don't like this man, but this man is telling the truth. You did. Don't take a look around you. Go, just do yourself a favor. Take a look around you and tell me how many other YouTubers, TikTokers, Facebookers, Instagrammers, how many of them are actually doing what I'm doing and teaching what I'm teaching? Go ahead and point out one. Point out one. You know why you can't find them like that? It's because they have a different motive for doing what they do. I'm not saying they are not willing to teach. You did? But everybody's looking for likes. Everybody's looking for followers. Everybody's looking for something opposed to focusing on the war. People are building personal brands of all this movement. Whether you call yourself Black, they're building brands off of that. Whether you call yourself American Indian, they're building brands off of that. Tell me I'm lying. And that's why I tell people, a lot of you are not going to like me because I'm too real. I'm too real. You know why? Because I'm about the collective. I don't give a damn about individual brands. Everything I do is for the collective. And the funny thing is, it seems like I have to beg people to support what I'm doing. Ain't that a biatch? And that's the funny part about it. Every individual who call me and need help, Chief is always there. Always there. Even when they beg me, Chief, let me get your what you call it, your what they call it, cash app. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Yo, Chief, let me get your cash app. I pretend like I don't even hear them. And they have to remind me. I pretend like I don't hear them. And they have to keep reminding me. The point I'm making is this. Some people may say, well, Chief, you know what, that's you stupid, Chief. No, that's not what it is, man. I have a different motive for doing what I do. You feel me? Does that mean sometimes, I'm not a little financially stressed or strapped? Yes. Yes. In fact, more often than ever. But it's just something in me. I don't know what it is. that will not just allow me to put myself in a position to put financial stress on my people because I'm giving them information. I don't feel comfortable doing that. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying other people, what they're doing, it's wrong. I'm not saying that. Everybody have a right to make a living. You did. Everybody have a right to do that. I see people charging people $1,400 to do genealogy. I mean, come on. When I'm teaching y'all how to do it for free. I wrote a book. It only costs $12, $13. And it shows you how to do your genealogy. All you have to do is spend some time to get it done. But you go pay $1,400. And sometimes you don't get all the information that you want. And people pushing all these false illusions because they want to create packages selling to people, man. Like, come on, man. And it's ineffective. A lot of them are, because I hear the complaints. So my people, what am I saying, man? I'm saying this. Y'all got to know the real ones from I'm not going to say the fake ones, because I can't say that they're fake. But you have to determine the real from the real, because you have the real and you have the realists. And I'm not going to tell you which one I am. By now, you should know this, because you have been listening to me for a very long time, especially on YouTube. And then you have been listening to others. And just go look at the consistency and the difference in the message in what I teach and how I break it down and how I teach it. I'm just saying. Because you know why? I want y'all to focus on the collective. Because I know that's the only way things are going to get done. The only way we're going to get change is if we come together. Nothing else matters. Yes, you could have individual battles, you could win them. I'm not saying no. But individual battles is not what's going to take us where we got to go, man. No, I want us to win a collective battle. Let's step up to the plate and get something done. Something done. I mean, something. You know, we step up as a collective, and let's just say everybody, you're American Indian, and you could show and prove with your genealogy, and you have your documents, and you are who you are. Let's push for all student loans forgiven for American Indians. I mean, let's fight for something. Let's not just fight to vote. You feel me? Something, man. But like I said, man, I got a different mentality, man. Number 5, let's continue. The clean legal framework. Here's the summary of all of this. Sovereignty-based protections applied primarily to federally recognized tribes. Require political recognition, all right, for federally recognized tribes. We are talking about sovereignty-based, all right? If you're not federally recognized, they don't consider you to be, to have, regardless of what, they don't consider you to have a sovereign nation, a republic, an organization. Based on them, that's what they are saying. Here's the difference with not being federally recognized. You cannot tell us who we are. If we say that we are sovereign people because we were made in the likeness and image of God, then that's who we are. So we don't need your permission to be sovereign on the land. And that's what I want y'all to realize. We don't have to beg for inherent rights that was given to us by the creators. Why are we begging for that? Why are we buying food? Why are we paying rent? Why are we buying water? Let's go into the next one. Identity and rights-based protections. Okay? Apply to indigenous individuals and communities. Do not require federal recognition. Include constitutional, civil, state, and international protections. You feel me? So when I see people rushing to get federal recognition, why are you limiting yourself to a what's called a unilateral contract? Because it's unilateral. What do you think you are getting from that? Recognition to show that you have a card, to show that you're federally recognized? Do you know what you have just done? I mean, it's bad enough. You are considered a subject of the corporation already, and you're double deeping by getting into another contract for some more privileges. No, let it make sense. Hmm? Hmm? Come on, let's let it make sense, man. So therefore, without federal recognition, your it applies, and I'm talking rights-based protection. It applies to individuals and communities. Do not require federal recognition and include constitutional, civil, state, and international protection. So thus, just by the Constitution, civil rights, the state laws, and international protections, just imagine how we could use that as a solid foundation. So the final thought on this: unrecognized indigenous tribes and individuals are not without legal protection in the United States. While they are largely excluded from federal Indian law doctrines tied to tribal sovereignty and treaties, they remain protected under constitutional law, civil rights, state recognition, state recognition framework, property and contract law, and international indigenous rights standards. The absence of federal recognition limits sovereignty-based remedies, not indigenous identity or fundamental legal protection. Okay? I don't know about you, but if that's your goal to get federally recognized, I wish you all the best. Good luck with that. Me personally, I don't want that. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't. It's up to you. Do your thing. You feel me? Whatever you feel is best for you and your people, get it done. Here we go. Let me break something down. There has been so many misconceptions. And like I said, people just like to teach things that they have no idea what they're teaching. Okay? They get on the internet, they hear people talk, and they post it. It get 250, 1,000 shares and 60,000 views. And it's misinformation. That's why so many people are all over the place. So let's put this into its proper context. When it comes to the Civil Rights Act and the Indian Civil Rights Act, how many of you, be honest, how many of you have been told or you're under the impression that the Civil Rights Act is another name, or the Indian Civil Rights Act is another name for the Civil Rights Act? Be honest. How many of y'all have heard that before from people who claim to know what they're talking about? And you actually accepted that to be true? Type 1 in the chat, in the comments, whether it's on TikTok or whether it's on YouTube. Let's be honest. In fact, I'll type 1 because I heard it before. I'm going to be honest. Let's be honest. I just type 1 on YouTube because that's the information people are teaching, and that is not true. And that's why I tell you, a lot of them are going to be mad at me for speaking the truth, because it means that the information that you're putting out there is incorrect and you're misleading people, whether it's intentional or not. That's what you're doing. So let's put this in perspective. The Civil Rights Act versus the Indian Civil Rights Act. A clarification lesson on civil rights, sovereignty, and federal recognition. The purpose of this lesson. Here goes the purpose of the lesson. This part of the lesson is designed to correct a persistent misconception that the U.S. Civil Rights Act was also known or nicknamed, okay, or functioned as an American Indian Civil Rights Act. The misunderstanding is often repeated online and can unintentionally mislead people about how indigenous rights really and actually operate under U.S. law. The goal here is to clarify, not dismissal, to show how civil rights law and Indian law operate in different legal directions, and why even laws written specifically for American Indians still depend on federal recognition. Because guess what? It doesn't matter what we identify as. It all leads back to what? It leads back to Rome. That is the moral of the story. It leads back to Rome. Okay? So even if you focus on on the American Indian Civil Rights Act, guess what? You have to be federally recognized for it to apply to you based on what the US is saying. So let us read. Because it's good to read with understanding. Part 1. Okay? Hold on for a second. Let me just scroll down here for a second. Make sure YouTube is on point as well. So here we go. The Civil Rights Act. Okay? The Civil Rights Act of 1964. What the Civil Rights Act is, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 is a general civil rights statute that protects individual persons within the United States from discrimination. It applies for federal and state governments, employers and institutions, public and accommodations. It protects individuals on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, and national origin. So therefore, the Civil Rights Act was a general public act. Okay? All right, good. What are we going to do now? Hold on for a second. I think I went too far. Protection. Hold on for a second. Give me a second. Let me just go back here. All right, here we go. How American Indians are protected under the Civil Rights Act. American Indians are protected under the Civil Rights Act as individuals, not as sovereign people. Did y'all know that? American Indians are also considered civilians. I'm going to repeat that. American Indians are also protected under the Civil Rights Act as individuals, not as sovereign people. So don't let the illusion that these Native Americans out there pushing on the internet making you think there's something special. Okay? They're not. And I don't mean no disrespect from a disrespectful perspective. I'm talking about with them always attacking us, making us think because they are federally recognized and they got cards. Well, they in this special category and they got all these rights and privileges. No, they don't. No, they don't. And that's a fact. Because why? All roads lead back to Rome. I keep telling y'all, a lot of you you're not going to like me because I'm speaking too much truth. I'm exposing that you are teaching people the wrong information. This protection do not require tribal membership, does not require federal recognition, operates through individual status as civilian subjects to what? The United States jurisdiction. Everybody, including Native Americans, are subjected to the United States jurisdiction. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. In this framework, indigenous identity is treated as a civil classification, not a political one. See the difference? So it doesn't matter how you turn. The system is designed that way. You go to the left, it takes you back to Rome. You go to the right, it takes you back to Rome. I'm going to teach you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Okay? And that's why I tell any one of them, including those natives, come have a conversation with me, because I will expose who you truly are and what you are dealing with. Okay? Let's go into part 2. Let's go into the Indian Civil Rights Act now. That was in 1968. It's two different completely things. Pardon me. Two different complete things. One was in 1964 and one was in 1968. How the hell it could be? It could be the same thing. How could 1964 be nicknamed what happened in 1968? Let it make sense. So when people are teaching you information, I always ask people, even when I teach you, do your due diligence. Don't believe anything that I say. Cross-reference everything that I say, because I might miss something. It may not be intentional. And I'm not saying that they're teaching you that intentionally. I'm not saying that. That's why I specifically said they are teaching you false information, whether it was intentional or not. It shows that they are not doing their due diligence. And what have I told you in the past? If I've taught something and it was incorrect and someone brought it to my attention, I would update the information because I want to make sure that the information that I bring is the correct information. All right? So what the Indian Civil Rights Act really is, the Indian Civil Rights Act, ICRA of 1968, is a separate, distinct law from the Civil Rights Act. It is not the same. ICRA was enacted because tribal governments are sovereign. The US Constitution does not automatically apply to tribes. Congress sought to extend certain Bill of Rights protection inside tribal governance. You see the difference? Let's read that again. I'm going to take my time and read it a little slower so we all could get a better comprehension of what I just read. All right? Okay. So let's read. That's what I do, Anna. I'm just here teaching the facts. I'm not here to teach illusions. I'm not here to teach people things that make them feel good. I'm not here to teach people what they want to hear. I'm here to teach them what they need to hear. Because this is a hard reality for a lot of people. People just think because you claim American Indian, all of a sudden the US is just going to give us everything. No. People, we are still POWs, whether you like it or not. So the universe is going to keep forcing us to come together. And that's why I keep telling people, we have not lost enough. We still have some more suffering to go through because we refuse to see the bigger picture. That's why we keep fighting each other. You feel me? So let's read that again. ICRA was enacted because tribal governments are sovereign. All right? Tribal governments are sovereign, but not the individuals. You dig? So the US Constitution does not automatically apply to tribes. We're talking about tribes. Okay? So therefore, Congress sought to extend certain Bill of Rights protections inside the tribal governance. So within the tribal, let's look at it this way. The Civil Rights Act was for the general public. That also included individual Native Americans. But since the tribes themselves that have the contracts with the government, that makes it a political entity that has nothing to do with race, nothing to do with identity, nothing to do with you being American Indian. You feel me? Since they were lacking certain protections, they gave them the Indian Civil Rights Act. So they have individual protection, which is equivalent to the Civil Rights Act. They are two different things, 1968 and one was in 1964. One was not nicknamed the other like white people are teaching people to spread misinformation. Well, you see, they try to trick us. As you could see, the Civil Rights Act was nicknamed American Indian. Who said, no, that's not true. That's a lie. You feel me? Let's proceed. So therefore, ICRA applies to tribal governments, tribal courts, and tribal officials. Okay? It protects individual tribal members from actions by their own tribal government. Do you see the difference? So the Indian Citizen Act was to protect individual tribal members from their own government. And the Civil Rights Act was put in place to protect the public from their own government, which is the United States Corporation Federal Government. Y'all see the difference now? That's how I teach. Making sure you get a clear understanding of how this works and what it is. Okay? That's the difference. So there are two different things. Here we go. Part 3, the critical distinction, direction of legal control. So I created just a little chat right here, right? Here we go. Law, Civil Rights Act, 1964, restraints, federal, state, private actors. It's really that simple. Civil Rights Act, 1964, federal, state, private actors. Who it protects? Individuals, any individual. As long as you're a subject of the United States, then it protects you. Does it require federal recognition? No. The Indian Civil Rights Act of 1968 restraints federal government, protects tribal members. Do you have to be federally recognized? Yes. So even if we call ourselves American Indians, the Indian Civil Rights Act does not apply to us according to the United States because we are not federally recognized. Do y'all get it now? You see, that's what you call truth, facts over feelings. So when people are actually out there teaching misinformation, that is what's causing the problem, because no one is taking their time to do their, well, I'm not going to say no one. Let me take that back. There are people who do their due diligence. All right. But the majority of the people out there, they don't. They just take clips of videos, little posts, and they just repost because it sounds good. And everybody's getting caught up with the misinformation. And you are not doing justice to anybody, because now you got people thinking because we know we American Indians, the Civil Rights Act, it applies to us. No, it don't. Now, should it? Yes, it should. But it don't, because you have to be federally recognized. So you see how this works. You go left, you go right, it takes you back to the same master. That's why I tell people our only way out is as a collective come together and step up and stand up on the principles of decolonization. That's it. Let us proceed. This distinction is very, very crucial. The Civil Rights Act flows downward from the US government to protect civilians. That's why they had to make our people civilians. You see, everything is a trick. Our people were not supposed to be civilians. Our people were never civilians. You feel me? But they know the nature of our people. We are the wild Indians. If you tell us something we cannot do it, they know we're going to fight for it. So they had to put actors in place, create this scenario. It was a movie. It was a set. They were actors. We're going to create a division. We're going to give them something in their mind to push the illusion that they cannot drink in fountains. They cannot go into so-called white restaurants. Why did our people need that when we had our own? We had our own thriving businesses. But you see, a lot of people took bribes. I'm not accusing any one individual, but it was a stage show to give, once again, to give the imagery that you cannot do certain things. You feel me? And you can't tell our people we can't do nothing because we have a rebellious nature. You tell us we can't do it, guess what? We're going to show you we can, because we're the wild Indians. It just is what it is. So once that propaganda started being promoted, all right, it brought up the issue of our people fighting to be civilians. You are actually now you are being put in a place to lose your American Indian political identity where you had all your rights. You feel me? To be a civilian, to be of the general public. Do you see that trick right now? The civil rights have nothing to do with us. The civilians were the Europeans. The civilians were, whether they were so-called black Europeans or so-called white Europeans. It was about them. We have always been the American Indians. And the goal has always been to strip us of that. So we lose our political power and become subjected. Do y'all see? Oh, here we go again. Hold on for a second. I just had to hold on for a second. I didn't realize that was happening right here. Here we go, boy. Hold on for a second. Here we go. Give me a second. Give me a second. All right, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. 1 second. No matter what you do, right, you're always gonna get a warning from TikTok, right? I already know what they do. Let's see if this is gonna work. All right, I just got a warning from TikTok, so maybe I need to kind of calm down a little bit. Not, no, I'm not. Y'all can do what y'all want, but anyway. So the point I'm making is in all of this, right? The civil rights wasn't about us. It had nothing to do with us. Let me tell you who the civil rights was really about. The civil rights was really about Caucasian women. If for those of you who didn't know, it had nothing to do with us. Nothing. Okay? Not a damn thing. We were never civilians. But like I said, the stage was set. We are going to give them an illusion. Let's play the movie on a big screen. We are going to put certain things in place. Now, what you're saying, Chief, you're telling me that those pictures that they had with people, the signs and colored only and whites only, you telling me that's not real? I never said it was real. I never said it wasn't real. But it was actors, it was staged. And yes, of course, you have people that's going to be victims of any situation that was strategized. Now, I know a lot of people are not going to catch it, but it's okay. But it was well strategized for the outcome that it gave, so that our people, they lose or they get stripped of their indigeneity, their original identity, indigenous identity, American Indians, to become civilians. You dig? That was the whole purpose of doing that. That's what it was. Well, how can you prove it again? Did the civil rights benefit our people? No, because it wasn't supposed to benefit them. It wasn't for them. It wasn't for us. You dig? So now we became civilians. Guess what? Those black codes apply. You see how that work? The black codes still exist. They were never repealed. They still exist. I tell people, man, this is so crazy, man. And you have to know this and see this for what it is to truly know how to articulate it. You feel me? But anyway, let's proceed. Let me just go ahead. So here we go. So the Civil Rights Act flows downward from the US government to what? To protect civilians, right? So like I said, it was never about us. Even with the Dred Scott, the whole 14th Amendment, the whole birthright citizenship. Birthright citizenship wasn't about us. No, it wasn't about American Indians. You feel me? All that was part of the game. Part of the game. American Indians enslaved on their own lands, now considered free, fighting to be part of a society that was created. Don't y'all get it? All along, it has been American Indians making the laws, but the laws don't work for American Indians because they are identifying as Black people and African Americans. Y'all don't realize that? Civil Rights Act, birthright citizenship, 14th Amendment, all of that was disguised as so-called Black, for Black people, descendants of slaves. Don't you realize that? Don't you see the trend? Because what they're doing is they are using American Indians to do it. American Indians that are misclassified as Black, because why? We are the only ones that could make law on the land. Man, this is genius. This is brilliant. I keep telling people, man, you cannot hate the player. You just got to learn the game because this is brilliant. Why do you think I don't get mad? That's why I had to learn. So the Civil Rights Act, it flows from the US government to protect civilians. And the Indian Civil Rights Act, it flows inward to regulate recognized tribal governments. So even if we're American Indians, which we are, the Indian Citizen Right Act, it does not apply to us because we are not federally recognized. So you see the trap, right? If you're not recognized and you're an American Indian and you claim that you are, you don't get the federal recognition. You don't get the perks that don't apply to you. To being a civilian or use that along with international other rights of protection. And the US tell you, well, we don't recognize that because it's not legally binding. Do y'all see what's going on? Hmm? All right, let's proceed. Number 4, addressing the misconception directly. Misconception. A common claim is the Civil Rights Act was also known as the American Indian Civil Rights Act. This is false. Like I said before, I've already explained that. That's false. There is no historical record, no legislative history, no official nickname, okay, linking the Civil Rights Act to the American Indian Civil Rights Act. That's a blatant misconception and it's a lie. What does exist is separate statute. ICRA passed 4 years later for a completely different legal purpose. And that's facts. Okay? Let's go to part 5. Why even the Indian Civil Rights Act depends on federal recognition. Although the Indian Civil Rights Act is written for American Indians, it still requires federally recognized tribes as an acknowledged tribal government existing tribal jurisdiction. And like I said before, federal recognition does not mean racial identity. It does not mean that you're American Indian. It does not mean that you are an original indigenous man or woman. No, it only means it's a political status that gives you, okay, the contract ability to work from a government to government perspective with the federal government. It has nothing to do with you being an American Indian or being original to the land. So when I tell the Native Americans, I'm not the one to be played with. I'm not the one to be played with. Okay? So this is what it is. Without recognition, there is no tribal authority for the American Indian, for the Indian Citizen, pardon me, the Indian Civil Rights Act. Without recognition, guess what? There's no tribal authority for the IC hook for federal. So therefore, it doesn't apply if you're not federally recognized. Thus, even an American Indian Civil Rights Act law reverts back to, again, federal recognition as the legal gateway. It takes you to what? It takes you back to Rome, baby. It takes you back to Rome. I'm laughing because I'm showing you. It's like they gave us the movie, Get Out. How do we get out? That's what I keep teaching y'all, right? Let us rock. Part 6. Clarity. Identity versus sovereignty. Identity-based protection. It comes from civil rights law. Applies to indigenous individuals, American Indians, not federally recognized. Does not require federal recognition. Right? It does not. Sovereignty-based protection. There's 2 different types of, once again, I'm giving clarity, right? Identity versus sovereignty. Based on the US government. The only way to be considered sovereign in their jurisdiction, okay, I'm going to explain that to you. So therefore, identity-based protection, which is just identity-based, it comes from the civil rights law. It applies to indigenous people, American Indians, not federally recognized, or if you're just a regular individual, right? And it does not require recognition. Now, if you're identifying yourself as sovereign based on the US government, now it doesn't mean that if you say you're sovereign that you are not. The question remains, do they acknowledge you as being sovereign? That is the question. And based on their rules, you are not sovereign. The only way to be sovereign based on their rules in their system, it comes from federal recognized governments, okay? Federal Indian law applies to tribal governments and requires federal recognition. Confusing the two frameworks lead to false expectations and misinformation, my people. Why do you think I keep talking about the collective? But nah, everybody want to do their own thing though. Good luck. Because all we are doing is just making this journey a whole lot, it's just a whole lot harder. We are making it a whole lot more difficult than ourselves. That's what we are doing. And you know why? That's why some people would just revert to just doing their 9 to 5, doing their 60 years, retire at 95, and then when it's time for them to go, they go because they don't want to deal with all this foolishness that's going on. Because for whatever reason, too many people are not showing a clear, distinct direction and a plan and a goal. How many people that's actually doing that? All right. So clear and defensible. All right. The Civil Rights Act and the Indian Civil Rights Act are distinct laws serving different purposes. The Civil Rights Act protects indigenous people as individuals under civilian law, while the Indian Civil Rights Act regulates the conduct of federally recognized tribal governments. Even laws written specifically for American Indians still depend on federal recognition because U.S. law protects indigenous sovereignty only when it formally acknowledges a tribal political entity. So all the treaties, if you are not federally recognized, guess what? According to the U.S. government, it does not apply to us. I'm just keeping it real, man. I know this is not what a lot of you want to hear. I know that. And I'm not here to discourage you. That's not what this is. But for us to truly move forward and get things done, we have to know what we are going up against. We have to know exactly where we fall. That's why I do what I do, man. That's why I teach with precision. That's why I teach with understanding. So we are not all over the place, thinking we're making progress when we are not, because people are giving us misinformation. Note, this distinction is not about denying indigenous identity. It is about understanding how U.S. law structures power, jurisdiction, and recognition. So people are not misled by inaccurate claims or false legal shortcuts. I'm not here. And that's why I keep telling y'all, I'm not here to teach you and give you overnight success. My people, we have been colonized since 1492. Do you think it's just going to happen overnight when we have so much division? When we have so much infighting? And that's why I tell people the most immediate solution is right here on the screen. We have created a republic and we are moving in the right direction. Now you may ask, well, Chief, how is what you guys have different from everybody else? I'll this is my answer to you. I'll let you be the judge of that. Look at what they're teaching and look at what I'm teaching. And that's all I'm going to say. You feel me? Because we are not here to teach illusions. We are not here to give microwave solutions. We are here to create a structure with a definitive plan and direction as to what needs to be done. There are levels and steps to this. Levels and step to it. And you cannot ask people to put their livelihood in something that you have if you don't know what you're doing, if you are giving misinformation. It is really that simple. So the immediate or short-term goal is to come together as a community so that we are able to at least work on minimizing our overhead expenses. You see how I articulate those things? Because I'm not here to tell you being a part of the Republic is going to solve all our problems. First off, we don't have an army. So the goal is not to go into battle. That is not the goal. The goal is to create an atmosphere, to create a pathway where we are able to minimize some of the daily stresses, financial stresses. You feel me? The lack of having a community stresses so that our people could be more creative. We are creative by nature, but we cannot create because there are just too many distractions. Cannot pay bills. There's more bills at the end of the check. I talk about real things. So therefore, I'm literally suggesting real solutions. And our goal is to get to 1,000 people in the Republic by the conclusion of 2026. I heard one of my brothers on TikTok say, well, Chief, we could do it by the end of summer. No, I know that's a little bit aggressive. Yes, I get it. But that really depends on how much our people are willing to come together and get some things done. My people, we could do this. We can. There is nothing wrong in standing for our inherent given rights from the Creator. There's nothing wrong with that. And any government or institution that wants to take that away from us, then they should not be serving us in the first place. So our immediate goal is to make sure that our people in the Republic, they are not in the system as Black. So we're doing everything in our power to correct that misclassification in the system. What have we done? We have the proper documentation and we are teaching our people how to file those things. That's the first thing we are working on. As soon as you get into the Republic, there's a welcoming community. They reach out to you. Boom. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Let's get it done. So now you have guidance. Teach you how to do your genealogy. Now you have guidance. Teach you how to do things the proper way. That's the difference. You feel me? So with that being said, once we start doing those things, the next focus is how do we put things in place to start eliminating, or at least, once again, diminishing some of these overhead expenses. And we could get it done. I see that they have trailers for less than $4,000. Trailers. I mean, I'm talking about 40 feet trailers. You see, sometimes you got to fall back sometimes. Take a step back. We don't need the big mansion sometimes to get where we got to go. So instead of paying a mortgage, instead of paying rent, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a month, we focus. Get trailers. Get some land. Put our trailers on the land. We have our indigenous community. Yes, we got trailers. Call us Call us American Indian trailer trash. It is what it is. You feel me? You see, sometimes people don't realize the sacrifices you have to make to get somewhere in life. And that's why I have to respect people who actually walk the walk. I don't care what they look like. And I'll keep reverting and going back to the example of the Amish. Look at what they have accomplished. Look at the Mormons, the Church of Latter-day Saints. They started in New York. They were dumped into the Americas. Yes, they were dumped. They didn't talk about pilgrims and all now. They were dumped into the Americas. Don't try to romanticize the way y'all came into America. You were dumped here. But because they had nothing to lose, they made up their mind they was going to make something happen. And they walked all the way from New York, all the way to Utah. It took them how many? Almost 40 years to get there. Pilgrimage on our own land. And guess what? Their base and their foundation is in Utah. And they own the largest database of everybody's ancestry in the world, that it makes sense. You see, when you have determination, when you have nothing to lose, you make things happen. But you see, our people, we got some more losing to do. We got some more suffering to do because we got too much pride. Because we think we have already made it. And we complain too much. You want solutions? I'm giving you solutions. The question remains, how bad do we want it? Are we going to continue to just listen to people tell us we're American Indians? Are we going to continue to listen to people regurgitating the same damn information? People teaching you, turning into news broadcasters nowadays because they ain't got nothing else to talk about? Come on, people. Y'all don't peep the game? Y'all don't peep the game, what's going on? Where's the real solutions at? Where are the real solutions? We know we're American Indians. We know they lied. We know that we know all of that. What's next? What's next? We still in the internet debating people about, we debating Africans. We debating natives. Caribbean people debating people in the United States, vice versa. It's just chaos all over the damn place. But we all struggling. Let it make sense. Slaves fighting slaves to be the better slave. How does that make sense? How does that make sense? The house slave is fighting the field slave because I'm the better one. The house slave is fighting the field slave is fighting the house slave. Everybody trying to claim the house of the master. Do you think the master is going to let you claim his house? Y'all got something better coming to y'all. No. You're living an illusion. It's a dream that you refuse to wake up from because you feel if you wake up, then you have to face reality. You have to face reality. So the only solution is we stop focusing on the left or the right and we stay in the middle and we start building from the middle up. We don't look left. We don't look right. We don't look back. We take the grasshopper principle. You see, grasshoppers, they don't know how to jump back. Go look it up. Grasshoppers don't jump back. They move from side to side and forward. Go look it up. You could learn a lot of things from animals. So I say we take the grasshopper concept. We jump from side to side and we move forward. You feel me? We take the concept of the geese. The geese, they fly together. One is in the lead, or a couple in the lead. Once they get tired, they fall back, and the rest that's in the back, now they come in the front. So therefore, they carry each other. That's how they move together. We take the concept of the ants. Once we see something and we know it's good for us, we know we cannot carry it alone, then we go back and get the rest of the ants. And guess what? We are moving mountains. Then they tell us, the faith, what it says, the faith the size of of what? A mustard seed could move mountains. Can you imagine that? If one individual could have faith the size of a mustard seed and move mountains, can you imagine what 1,000 of us could do? I'm determined to get to 1,000 people so we could show people exactly how to get this done. Because I know what we could do. Man, listen, we could make this happen, man. We can. We can. Because everybody else is getting it done. You feel me? So I just wanted to come and just do another video, another lesson to put things in perspective. It's just too much misinformation out there. You feel me? And here's the truth. Like I said, because we know we American Indian and we correct our status, it still doesn't mean that things that are federally recognized, it applies to us. That's the trap. That's the trap. You feel me? So damned if you do, damned if you don't. The only way it's going to happen is what? Pressure. And they say what? Pressure do what? Pressure bust pipe. But how do you apply pressure? By putting more water. You cannot have little drops, and think that it's going to bust the pipe. No, it has to be more water. How does that equate to us? The individualism is not going to work. They don't bust, it don't make enough pressure. It have to be more and more and more and build and build and build. That's what they respect. So my people, when you truly think about what I'm saying, and you really see how everything transpired from 1493 all the way up to where we are at right now, everything was planned. It was a blueprint, okay, to take the original people and displace them. Displace the original people. You see, when they came, they didn't have a choice but speak the truth about the people they saw. And they seen brown-skinned people, colored people. They called the Negro de Terra, the blacks of the land. That was the first form of paper genocide. In fact, I'm going to keep it real. That wasn't the first form. The first form of paper genocide was American Indian. And that's why I keep telling y'all, American Indian, yes, it is still a misnomer, but it's the only misnomer in law that's protecting us. And even if we step up, they still want us to be federally recognized. You see the trap? So they put a lock on American Indian because they know it's our only protection. You feel me? I'm going to repeat that because I want it to sink in. Because they know American Indian is our only way out. They had to make sure at some point they knew we had to wake up. They knew we was going to remember. You feel me? But they was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to make sure that by the time they wake up, they have to be federally recognized to be still recognized as American Indians. It doesn't mean they are not. We can't tell them they're not American Indians. But what we could tell them is you have to be federally recognized to get some shit. So do you see the game that was played? The game that was played. So let's teach them about a story that they came from Africa when the truth of the matter is they were taking American Indians from America, going into Africa, fighting the Dutch to take back Angola, to take back Sierra Leone. Go look it up. They were taking American Indians from the Americas to go colonize people in Africa. Why do you think a lot of Africans don't like our people? Do you get this? They took American Indians into Africa to colonize Africa. Because when the Dutch took over countries in Africa, you feel me? They took American Indians to go help fight the Dutch. You see, y'all didn't know that, huh? So this whole slavery narrative, we came from Africa, that's a damn lie. Ain't no damn slaves from Africa came here. And then the story became so real. You cannot tell none of these Negroes that they ain't come from Africa. They want to fight you. Because for whatever reason, the only place on earth that could produce people that look like us is Africa. Let it make sense. Huh? Let it make sense. And they have y'all fighting your brothers and sisters in the Caribbean. What they didn't tell you was they took 5.5 million of our brothers and sisters in the United States and shipped their asses into the Caribbean. The truth of the matter is, y'all more related to people in the Caribbean than people in Africa. Ain't that a blame? And they took people from the Caribbean and brought them into the US. Wow, man, I keep telling yo, man, they did a job on our people, man. They did a job on our people. That is crazy. That is absolutely insane. And then the colonizer they're such geniuses, right? They're telling you, we are going to occupy one area in America called the United States. And this is what we're going to do. We are going to make sure that that one area is called the entire continent. So we are going to fight, take the United States, right? And we are going to rename the United States America. What are we telling you? We are telling you we took over your whole shit and you can't do a damn thing about it. It's like going into Africa, right? And the colonizers took over, let's just say took over Ghana. And they're saying, man, we're going to call Ghana Africa. Why that never happened to Africa? Explain that to me. Why isn't there one state or country in Africa that's called Africa? In America, that's called America. Explain that to me. One place, country, America, called the United States, but it's telling everybody it's America. And y'all are the ones supporting that bullshit. What a disrespect to our ancestors. Let it make sense. You see what I'm talking about? Go show me one country in Africa that's called Africa. When they told you exactly what they did. Noah Webster's 1828 dictionary. American, original natives of America, the copper-colored races found in the Americas. It didn't say the United States, it said in the Americas. But now the term is being applied to descendants of Europeans born in America, trading places. We took your place. So you get to be a hyphen American and we get to be Americans. And we are actually supporting that. We are supporting that to the point where we are telling other indigenous people that they are illegal in their own ancestral land. Let it make sense. And you telling me that you're not a colonizer? That's what you're telling me? Okay. Let it make sense. We should be in an uproar with what's happening to our Haitian brothers and sisters. We should have been in an uproar. If anybody should have went to war for anybody, we should have went to war for our Haitian brothers and sisters. We should have. Very disrespectful what we are actually allowing these colonizers to do to our brothers and sisters. That is sad. Very, very, very sad. But don't worry about it. My brothers and sisters in Haiti, they will rise again. They will rise again. And let me tell y'all something. You see, life, the universe got a funny way of expressing itself. The same stone that the builder refused is the same cornerstone that they're going to need. I promise you, Haiti's gonna rise and y'all gonna need Haiti again. Because history always have a way of repeating itself. Always. Because you know why? God has a sense of humor. God has a sense of humor. And all the unrighteous hearts, let me tell y'all something, man. Y'all got some burning in hell to do. It's not even funny. And I'm not talking about no hell that they talk about that your God create and put. No, I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about that hell that's within you. It's going to burn you and eat you up alive. That's what the true hell is. You dig? Let me tell y'all something, man. First off, I was actually explaining that to one of the chieftainess in the republic earlier. I explained to her that we have to be very mindful how we move forward because Mother Earth is raising her frequency, right? That's the reason why they started with Joe Biden. Well, it didn't start with Joe Biden, but he was really pushing it. Went down into South America talking about global warming. Let me tell y'all something. Mother, right now, we are not supposed to be having any type of winter to the extreme. You know why? Because Mother Earth is heating up. She has to prepare herself for the golden age. And in the golden age, there cannot be no winter. I know you heard me. So, what are they doing? They are pushing your mentality. They are literally controlling your minds. With what? With ice. Don't you realize the spiritual, wizardry that's taking place? Hmm? Why do you think they got you focusing on ice? They got you focusing on ice because it's your vibration and our frequency that's warming up Mother Earth. And they want us to fight against it. I'm going to give you another example. Hmm? Can anybody tell me? I can't remember exactly what date, what year it was, right? When they had the pandemic, and it was because of the virus, that corona joint. What year was that? Was that in 2019? Or was it earlier than that? 2019, right? Now, everything, my people, has a spiritual ramification to it, or spiritual implications, rather, right? Don't you know that corona, do you know what it was about? That was Mother Earth and the universe, the celestial bodies, preparing us, giving us back our crown, preparing us for the golden age. Go look at what corona really means. Hmm? That's what it meant. Hmm? That's what it meant. In our crown, our coronation, people, stepping into the higher Christ consciousness. So they had to do what? They had to make sure that you went 6 feet. Why do you think people had to be 6 feet apart? Hmm? When you bury people, how many feet do you bury them? 6 feet. Why do you think you have to be 6 feet apart? It was all a ritual, people. It was all a ritual. So it's the same thing that was taking place. That was our coronation. So they had to put in our mind, we want you to go against it. We want you to fight against it. So they had to create a distraction. Okay? They had to create a distraction. Here we are now. Mother Earth is heating up. Guess what they're doing? We got to make you think about ice. The heart chakra. The color for the heart chakra is green. Now they got you focusing on green land. Mm, I'll leave it as that. I wouldn't say nothing more about that. Just watch everything else fall into play. You did. So the system is always 50 moves ahead, whether it's from a spiritual perspective, a political perspective, a physical perspective, it doesn't matter. Emotionally, they got people moving in the direction they want them to move because they are moving the chess pieces to make you react the exact way they want you to react. Hmm. Think about it. Okay? But my people, I'm not saying that to say that all is lost. No, that's not what I'm saying. I want you to know that we can make a change and we can make an impact if we just decide that enough is enough and we have to start coming together and build and move forward in one direction. You feel me? We don't have to be out here wilding out. We don't have to do that because everything we do is actually on the private side. That's what it's going to be done. If we have to put things on the record, we put it on the record. But our goal is to move on the private side and put things in place. And that's what our republic is focused on. That's it. It's really that simple, man. For those of you that want to be terrorists, those of you that think you have the army to go up against the biggest army in the world, good luck. That is not our focus. Our focus is to make sure that we alleviate some of these bills. We have a community where we could work together, do group economics, okay? Alleviate some of the stress on some of the women that have young children. So now there's a community. So they have some time to breathe, some time to meditate, take a walk. That's what our republic is focused on right now. Okay? Everything else, we'll build towards it. We are not here to force things to happen that we are not ready for. Our goal is not to endanger anybody. It doesn't mean we are punks. No. We just know that there are certain protocols. A lot of things have to be put in place first. All right? Before we take things to another level. And when I say take it to another level, I'm talking about take it nationally so our voices can be heard nationally. All right? Now, I know there has been a video or a picture or a meme, whatever the case is, right? Or a post of a brother that he is the first so-called Native American that has been appointed for assembly in some state. I'm not sure if you guys could actually, tell me exactly which one it is. All right. But I want to talk on that just a little bit. So can anybody tell me what's the name of that state? Was it in Connecticut? Yeah, Connecticut. So let me talk on that for a little bit, and I'll go back to the comments on YouTube, right? Because I've been talking, so I've been ignoring that. So I apologize. I'm just seeing the comments on YouTube right now. So I'm not sure exactly. I don't know the brother's background, right? So my question would be: is he federally recognized? Is he? Do anybody know? Is he federally recognized? Yeah. So if he's federally recognized, then I see a lot of people posting it. one of us make history. What you mean one of us? The man is federally recognized. Don't you realize to be federally recognized, you have to be a descendant of a slave from Africa? And that's why I keep telling people, man, I don't know if people don't think or people just talk because it feels good or it sounds good. That is the trap, man. For people who look like us, for their system that they put in place to be federally recognized, you did. It is very, very rare that they look at us as American Indians, except for we became American Indians because we were enslaved by natives and that we are slaves from Africa. Yeah, from the I think it's from the Pequot tribe. I think so, yeah. You feel me? So think about what I just said. Yeah, he looked like us, but is he really us? Because if you say that you are a descendant of a slave from Africa, that means you're African. So how does that benefit us? That's what I'm asking. Come on, man. How does that benefit us? I don't know. But I guess all that's left to be said. Let's go back to let me look at some comments over here on YouTube. Okay. Madi has said not federal recognition. It says not federally recognition to be federal law of the land, want to have federal license plates, federal protection, and federal medical. I'm not even sure what you're asking, but you said what about our family tree and genealogy? What about it? I'm not sure what you're asking about the family tree and the thing about not federal recognition to be federal law of the land, want to have federal license plates. I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. And you said federal means covenant. And we gained our independence in 1776. Who's we? I'm Madiha, like, you speaking in codes, or maybe it's a mistype, I'm not sure. Who's we getting our independence in 1776? Who's we? I don't know who we is. All I know is, like I said, it's a lot of misinformation that's out there. All right. And we got to start dealing with some of that. All right. And putting things back in perspective. So if anybody have any questions, feel free to ask. You know what I mean? And let's see what it is. Okay. Let us get to the bottom of this. Let us go look at let's look at the etymology of the word federal. Let's see what it means. Etymology of the word federal. Let's see what it means. Let's see if it means covenant. Let's see. All right. Federal, adjective, 1640s. It says, as a theological term, reference to covenants between God and man. Okay, so it means covenant. Absolutely, you're absolutely correct, right? So if it means a covenant between man and God, then the federal government, their dollar bill said, "In God we trust." Then it's a covenant between the government and the people, right? So everything is, how would I put it? Everything is subjective to what their rules are, because they're the ones making the rules, right? So the federal government, like I tell people, God, Government Ordinance Department. So they're the ones playing God. And the covenant is between them and the people. That's just what it is. Unless we have our own. And that's what differentiates everything. You see what I'm saying? So, Medea, yes. Uh, uh, the etymology of the word federal means covenant, and it's a covenant between man and God. The question remains, which God are they talking about when it comes to the United States corporation? Because I don't think they're talking about the righteous God that I know. Because if they were, we wouldn't be in the situations that we're in right now. So the God that they're talking about is God. That's on their money. Okay, governance ordinance department. That's what they're talking about. That's the God that they trust in. And we, as the people, need to realize who we signed that covenant with. And that covenant was actually solidified with the birth certificate. So that's who the covenant is with. Children of Hagar, bondage. That's what it means. You dig? And you said, what about our family tree and genealogy? That's very important. Absolutely important. Because you have done your family tree and genealogy, and I don't want people to stop doing that. But what I'm saying is within the context of the United States, it doesn't matter what you show. If you are not federally recognized according to them, then federal recognition does not apply to you. The perks and benefits does not apply to you. That's what they are saying. I'm not saying it's moral. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's lawful. According to them, it's legal because they're making the rules. You see, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying what they're doing is moral. I never said that. I'm not saying what they're doing is lawful. I never said that. But guess what? It's legal because they're the ones making the rules. You see, they're the ones who created the BIA to determine who American Indians are and who will be federally recognized. So does that mean we should be discouraged of doing our family tree and genealogy? No, we got to keep moving forward. We have to. But what I'm saying is, I'm just putting everything in perspective so people don't get disappointed and get discouraged because people out there promising things that's not true. Because you have your genealogy and you have your family tree, it doesn't mean they're going to recognize you. It doesn't mean that. In fact, even when they see you on the doors rows, they still tell you you cannot be a part of it because it's a control mechanism. That's what I'm saying. So the goal is it reverts back to the very moral of everything that I teach. We have to build. We have to come together as the collective. All these different packages and solutions we're looking for, man, I'm just saying good luck. Good luck. It has to be the collective. I don't know why we can't see that. Why we can't see that. Even when we go back to the Benjamin Franklin letters, what did he say? Africa is dark people. Basically, that's what he said. Colored people. Asia, colored people. Europe, colored people except us, which is them, right? But the majority of the Germans, he said it explicitly. The Germans, the Irish, the British, the Scottish, they are dark-skinned people. Benjamin Franklin said that. And he said what? America woolly so. The same thing, dark-skinned people. So what do we have to do? It's a good place. So when we go into America, if they're having 2 babies, we got to have 20. That's what the man said. Because you know what? They know about the collective. We are the only ones that don't focus on the collective because we want to win the battle individually. That's the problem. So we don't grow because we are not putting the effort and work into what we have. We are not supporting what we have. We are not building what we have. So We are never going to find the solutions because we are looking for individual solutions. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that 5 people literally lifting let's just say a tractor trailer, who do you think is going to be more successful in lifting a tractor trailer? Is it 5 people or 1,000 people? I mean, the question is actually, rhetorical, right? It's 1,000 people, obviously, because we have the same purpose. The purpose is to lift the truck. It doesn't matter what other differences we have. We may have different jobs. Shoot, some people may smoke weed. Some people may drink. I don't smoke, I don't drink. But am I going to tell my brother or my sister, you cannot be a part of what we're doing because you smoke or drink? You see what I'm saying? So it's not about the individual differences. It's about the collective. What are we trying to accomplish? So if our goal is to pick up that truck, a tractor trailer truck, and 5 people out here struggling, and we are telling people, yo, if you go get one individual, I go get one, that's 10. If each of us get one, that's 20. Each one get one, that's 40, until we get to 1,000 people that could pick up this truck. Guess what? If we get 1,000 more, we could not just only pick up that truck, but we could take that truck and take it wherever we want to go with it. You see the power of being collective? Collectiveness with one mind, one goal, one purpose. That's what I'm talking about. We don't want to win the war. We want to win individual battles. And people get mad when we don't make progress. People get discouraged when we don't make progress, because you have people that's actually putting their heart into everything and others aren't doing that. You see, we have to decide how bad do we want to live life? How bad do we want to stop struggling? How bad do we want to stop paying rent? How bad do we want to get rid of the student loans? How bad do we want to get rid of the mortgage, which is a debt pledge? How bad do we want that? We don't want it bad enough. Because every other ethnic group who wants it bad, they come together. They sleep on floors. People sleep on floors. People don't go shopping to buy clothes for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, because they got enough to sustain them. They don't need a new pair of pants every other week or a new pair of shoes every other week. They do each other's nails to save money. They do each other's hair to save money. You see what I'm saying? When you want to make a sacrifice and you want to get things done, you make the sacrifices. That is the difference between people who want to get something done and people who just want to complain. That's the difference. And like I said before, I'm not here to tell y'all what y'all want to hear or you like to hear. I'm here to make you uncomfortable, because we are losing this fight. And it's going to get better because of divine intervention if we are not learning. But we keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. You know what I'm saying? We had American Indian Wall Street. They burned it down and they renamed it Black Wall Street. We could do it again. But this time we just got to be a little more vigilant. We will rise again. You feel me? But we have to set the foundation so that our children could know we started something for them, so they don't start the race already losing. Too many of us were already put in that position that when we look back, what did our mother live for us? What did grandmother live back? What did the grandfather live back? Except for bills. Let us change. Let us create a new paradigm. But now, who they are, we could pass that on to our children or our daughters and their sons and their daughters. I'm just saying, man. Maybe I'm just an overthinker. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm just too optimistic, but I'm not giving up. I refuse to give up because I know it can be done. But my people, we got to put in the work to get the outcome. I know we could accomplish so much if we just decide that we're going to give it a run and see where it's going to take us. We could get it done. I know it. It's not a belief. I know I've seen the outcome. I've seen the results. That's why I haven't given up. All right? So with that being said, I'm about to get out of here, man. Get out of here. And my people, continue to do your genealogy. Continue to do your family tree. Continue to build. Continue to move forward. Continue to be optimistic. Continue to know that everything is going to be just fine. It doesn't matter what the system does. Rome will finally fall one day. They will. Because I don't think that our people are going back to sleep. I really don't think so. This is just the beginning. And see what we have accomplished in 2025 with so many people waking up. Yes, a little bit of chaos, disrespect, but as 2026 come along and it advances, I think that more and more and more of our people will start be accepting of each other because it has to happen. It's inevitable. And then 2027, 2028, 2029, 2030, 2031, 2030, 32, 2033 is the next Jubilee. The next Jubilee is in 2033. And therefore, once again, the land is supposed to be returned to the original people. Our people missed it in 2017 when 2025 went and gone. A lot of them missed it. But I'm telling you when the next one is. We could start building right now and making things happen to 2033. If we just focus on that and we know that the universe is working on our favor and in our favor, let's prepare ourselves 2033. So we could literally put a glitch in this matrix. And by the time 2033 comes, man, we'll be more than on our way. The system not that far away. Think about what I'm saying. We're in 2026. 7 more years is 2033. Do you think it's a coincidence that it's actually in 7 more years? No, it is all symbolic. It is all symbolic. It's actually the next Jubilee is in 7 more years. 2033. Go look it up. So I say we put that work in for the next 7 years. I know it seems like a long time, but it's not that far. It's not, because time is going to go by anyway. We have a choice to either keep working as slaves, keep buying food, keep buying water, keep paying rent, or we could work on something solid for the next 7 years. Because time is going to go by anyway. How many of us could remember when Obama was in office? How many of us could remember when Biden was in office? How many of us could remember when Clinton was in office? When the Bushes was in office? The point is, time always come and go. So why not start putting something in place? Time will come anyway. So we could look back and be like, wow, we did that in 7 years. We accomplished that in a year, in 2 years, 3 years, see where we are at. And we get ready for the next Jubilee. All right. So like I said, go to the website, join something that's righteous, and let's build and do what needs to be done. This is your brother, Chief Flying Eagle, aka Lord Markan, aka the Black Identity Slave. My goal is to make sure that my people get out of her. How do you do that? You start correcting yourself in that system. Get out. Stop being Black and African American. Okay? That's the goal. To get out, put the glitch in the system. And once we could accomplish that, I'm telling you, man, The battle, half of the battle is already won. Well, half of the war is already won because that's the biggest shadow, okay? The biggest curse that's on our people right now is that the identity of calling ourselves black. And more people will let it go. I know it's going to happen. The same way it was given to us in 1968, our people, they're going to let it go. But I'm going to keep pushing until we literally get rid of Black History Month. And that's when we know we're making true progress because we're going to get rid of that. We don't want it. All right? So enjoy the rest of your 24, man. All right. Hey, what's the word, Chief? What's good? What's good? What's good? Yeah, man, I'm still here, man. Still putting in that work. Still putting in that work. All right. You already know. You already know. Salute, salute, brother. Salute, man. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I never left, man. I just took a break from YouTube because I was just so disappointed with YouTube. YouTube sent me some analysis, right? And YouTube told me from the inception of me having my that particular YouTube channel, I had about a little over 2 million views, right? And I'm like, that's cool. So over 2 million views, that means that my videos has literally and my message has gotten to at least over 1 million people, right? 2 million views, right? And I'm only seeing like about 29 for the longest. I'm stuck on 29,000 subscribers. And even if that's so, that is still quite a substantial amount of subscribers. But every time I do a video, it could barely reach 3,000 people. Like, what's going on? So I realized I was being shadow banned. So I got discouraged and I took a break. And then I started posting more on Facebook. And then eventually somebody told me about TikTok. And I was like, okay, you know what? Let me just start teaching on TikTok. And then, I started meditating again. And ancestors like, nah, Chief, you got to go back to your YouTube brothers and sisters. They were the foundation. You got to go back and give them some love. So I came back to YouTube. So now I'm actually doing both TikTok and I'm doing YouTube. So I got 2 computers and 2 phones. Each one on TikTok and another on YouTube. But right now, once again, the goal is just to teach about the collective and what needs to be done and clearing up a lot of the misconception, the false information that's being put out. Because a lot of our people are being led in the wrong direction and it doesn't sit well with my soul. So I have to make sure that people get the proper information. So when they're making decisions, those decisions are from a well-informed perspective and not just speculative, making things up because it sounds good. We have to comprehend the battle and the war that's ahead of us. It's real. And it doesn't matter if you go left, you go right, you go center, guess what? It leads right back to Rome. So therefore, it's the same concept the Bible speaks of. We are in the world, but we are not of the world. So therefore, we are in Babylon, but we are not of Babylon. So I'm going to teach my people how to build and create something within Babylon, even if we are not of Babylon, because we could still create things and make things happen. And that's the goal. And there is a way to get it done. All right? And that's what I'm showing on the screen right now. Our ancestors taught us who we were. Ongwe Hongwe, the original beings. And then so we took that back. It belongs to us. And they are pleased that we took it back. Right now, it's just about building, solidifying what we have with the numbers so we could let our voice be heard. And I'm going to tell you this today. You will see many others come and go, but Ongwe Hongwe, all right? The Republic of Iroquois, Ongwe Hongwe, ain't going nowhere. He's going to be the last man standing. I promise you that. Watch and see. All right? So enjoy the rest of your evening. Be good to each other, man. Continue to walk in righteousness. Like I said, we got work to do. And the only way to get it done is through the collective. So I want to thank y'all for your time. You could have been anywhere else, but you decided to come here and show some love. So I'm thankful for that. And by no means, like I said, I'm criticizing anybody. No, that's not what it is. I'm just clearing up some of the misinformation that was put out there. All right? That's it. Because we have to get the proper information to make the proper moves. So thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your 24. And I will see you guys on the next live or the next post, either or. All right? One love. Gratitude for everything. Thank you.